Greetings from Costa Rica, and thank you very much for joining me for Real Estate Forum 29. It's Friday, November 3rd, and just like every Friday at noon, I, Matt Rosensteel, am here to present you, my extensive audience, with relevant, honest information about the Costa Rica real estate market. Today, we're talking about a somewhat boring topic, but one that we're going to efficiently chomp through that is of utmost importance to foreigners, and that is corporations in Costa Rica. 20 or 30 years ago, you would have seen foreigners buying property exclusively through corporations here in Costa Rica, and there were many reasons behind that. First and foremost, there were huge ways to dodge taxes. However, with time, the Costa Rica government has evolved. Their tax policy has evolved, and the rigor of owning a corporation here has also changed as well. So as time goes by, the question becomes relevant. Should you incorporate in Costa Rica? If you're considering property, what are the pros and cons, the costs and benefits of owning through a corporation? Because, to be frank, the answer to that question is no longer exclusively yes for foreigners. Absolutely, by any means, you will see circumstances where foreigners do not need or should not use one. Today, we have 5 simple questions we're going to answer. I'm looking at my graphics and realize, oh, there it is. Nope. Not at all the agenda that I hope to. We'll go for the subscribe plea there. On the agenda today, we're talking about whether or not foreigners are obligated or forced to own property through a corporation, whether you need one to do AirBN and or VRBO. We'll then talk about those costs and drawbacks to owning through a corporation. We'll talk about the benefits because there definitely still are some. And finally, we're going to be talking about whether or not you'll save taxes by owning through a corporation here in Costa Rica. My name is Matt Rosensteel. Again, I have more than 350 Costa Rica videos with all kinds of information, market analysis, listings, news, updates, cultural issues, all kinds of stuff here on my channel. So do be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you're thinking of moving to or investing in Costa Rica. Without much further ado, we will get to our main topic, corporations, here in just a second. Stay tuned. Good afternoon. It is awesome to see that Dimitri and Chaz have joined in the chat. If there are others out there who have questions, comments, answers, opinions, etc., anything except for negativity and all of the stuff associated typically with internet chats, you're more than welcome to post them there. Or if you're watching this video as a replay, you're also more than welcome to post questions in the comments there. My name, to get back to that really quick, is Matt Rosensteel. Let me see here. If you're interested in moving to Guanacaste, Costa Rica, send me an email to this address. It isn't difficult, matt@costaricamatt.com. Before I get further, I have to throw a huge shout out to somebody who's actually sitting over there in the room, Gene Beshin from Iowa. We actually can't get him on camera that easily without me ruining my angle, but he is sitting there. He's my father-in-law and a huge YouTube supporter. So anyhow, it's great to have Gene here today as a live audience in addition to my massive live streaming audience. John, it's also great to hear from you, and Maria, appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get to our topic today, which is corporations in Costa Rica real estate, and really trying to empower you, as always, with more information as to whether or not you should use a corporation to own property here in Costa Rica. This is all said with the huge caveat that I am not providing legal advice to anybody. This is based on my 15 years experience working and living here in Guanacaste, and you should always verify what I say with somebody who is a licensed attorney here in Costa Rica. Let's move on here to our first question. Really, what's important to understand is that if you're asking whether or not you have to have a corporation to own property in Costa Rica, the answer is absolutely not. If we're looking at 99.9% of Costa Rica's national territory, it is fee simple titled property that foreigners can own without any kind of corporate intermediary. You are just welcome to come down with your US or Canadian passport, and on your first trip, buy property using your passport as your only identification. You don't have to have residency, and the Costa Rica government does this because they really, really love that foreign investment. Do you need a corporation to Airbnb or VRBO your property? That question, I've actually had a mistaken impression, to be totally honest. I consulted with Alonso Fonseca, a lawyer that has helped me with a couple transactions, who's extremely helpful. And his answer was no. I thought that you would have to have one because your property is generating income. You're paying taxes on that income. So you have to have a national entity. Alonso corrected me, and basically the taxes associated with renting your property are a type of territorial taxes, just like property taxes, that as foreigners, you're welcome to pay, even if you don't have a corporate entity here. So you can own your property in your name, you can Airbnb it out and pay all of the appropriate taxes without a corporation. So to answer the first most important question, they are not necessary for everyone who's going to be investing in Costa Rica. Yes, they are necessary for some people, especially if they want to buy absolutely beachfront property, but there are exceptions, people who do not need them. So let's talk about why would people not use a corporation? What are those cons? And actually, the original reason I wanted to do this broadcast and update sort of where we stand on corporations in 2023 is that I had received an alarmed email from a client who just bought property. They own a corporation. And first of all, they had been disappointed with some of the benefits that were supposed to materialize, and we can talk about those in a minute. But their bill for the annual maintenance expenses, and I'll have to come over here so that we can look at these, was actually a lot more than they expected to pay for just the maintenance, the legal costs of owning the corporation. And this was before they paid their property taxes, HOA fees, or insurance. So this is, by and large, how we could encapsulate the main drawbacks to owning property through a corporation. Yes, the Costa Rica government passed a flat tax so that even inactive corporations, ones that aren't registering activity, have to pay $140 per year, and that tax will slowly go up. The number for active corporations is about double that. You also have to pay a resident agent fee, or essentially, on the legal registry for your corporation. Someone who lives in Costa Rica has to be at an address where they can get notices. They have to be the registered agent until you get your residency. And to pay a law firm to do that can cost as much as $283. May sound like a lot for someone to put their name on paper for you, but in actuality, the whole bundle of maintaining a corporation is a pain for a lawyer, and being a resident agent and handling all of it is sort of something they have to charge well for, or else they would quickly go out of business handling thousands of corporations for people. You also have to file an annual shareholders registration. That's called the Registration of Final Beneficiaries in the Spanish translation. That's a new document that the Costa Rica government started requiring a few years back. And you also are going to have to file your income taxes even if you had a completely inactive corporation. They're going to have to declare zero. And yes, your lawyer or your accountant or whoever's maintaining your corporation is going to charge you for that. In this case, it was $170. So again, before they had paid any of their other associated fees with the property, the corporation itself cost $763. And as it turned out, in some clients' cases, the benefits that the corporation provides does not outweigh all of this and the problems that come associated with it. If you do not file your shareholders registration, or if you don't pay your flat corporate tax on an annual basis and for several years, the government will first freeze your corporation and eventually they'll dissolve it. So one of the common problems and biggest drawbacks with corporations here can be that if you're just going to leave everything in the hands of somebody else, if they don't handle that business, someday your property could be sitting in the hands of a completely dissolved entity, and you're going to have to go through special legal processes to get the property out of the corporation's hands, back into yours, and then make it saleable to your new buyer. So there can be complications. The other drawbacks with corporations here really, to be honest, would simply be babysitting whoever is going to be taking care of those bills, the registrations, etc., the taxes, because you will see if you don't have a responsible person handling it here, then it can fall into the pura vida recycling bin and sort of just not get their attention. So to move on, yes, there are benefits to owning through a corporation. What are they? One of the easiest answers is that if you are not going to be in the country to buy your property or for closing, you can do closing remotely if you're buying through a corporation. And that can be a huge convenience for a lot of people who vacation here and find their property and then close on it while they're at home. Second, you also do have that typical layer of protection from liability that comes with putting assets in the hands of a corporation that doesn't have anything to do with individuals who might have intertwining liabilities. Obviously, the example people give is that if you are here and end up in a lawsuit from hitting somebody with your car, for example, if a corporation owns your condo, then yes, it's not something someone could sue you for on the table. Also, another big benefit of owning through a corporation is very much that it makes it easier for your property manager to be empowered to do different things on behalf of, or basically anybody here in Costa Rica to do something for you. Essentially, if you own your property in your own name, you have to get a registered power of attorney nationally done. That has to be fully checked out, and you have to really limit that power because it's important in order to even do something like an electrical change or different things with your satellite dish or whatever. If you have a corporation, you can sign a simple PDF, do an e-signature on a letter saying that my Banana Costa Rica company hereby enables this person to do things for me. And that's definitely a big benefit for remote owners who over time may have a lot of different people handling things for them at their house. Obviously, the corporation would also bring benefits if you ran it like a business. You can definitely find deductions and different tax structures that are oriented towards corporate net income versus just gross income for yourself. But frequently I find that very few people are actually doing the full accounting for their property as an individual business here. And really, the reasons that I mentioned previous to this are most substantial for the people who are investing in condos, homes, and land here. Yes, the liability. Yes, it is easier to empower people here on the ground to do stuff for you. It does, in some banks, get you a slightly better bank account. In the case of the clients that I had mentioned, they signed up with a big national bank, and it no longer mattered whether you were a corporation or a foreigner signing up for the account. If foreigners controlled the corporation, or if it was foreigners doing the account themselves, they got a junior account with no online bill pay, no transfers, very low limits on the amounts that could come in, etc. I think at other institutions that might be applicable still, where a corporation will give you a better bank account, but by and large, that benefit has disappeared. Also, another benefit that people would assume is involved in a corporation, the anonymous ownership of a foreign asset, is also pretty much irrelevant in Costa Rica's case because of that registration of final beneficiaries. Every year, your lawyer files with the central bank who actually owns this corporation and who benefits from it and its income. And so that information is 100% available to the United States government in the case that they come knocking on Costa Rica's door saying, hey, you've signed our tax compliance legislation. We want to know what Gene Beshin holds down here in Costa Rica. Let us see what he's got. They're going to produce all of that information, even if you own it through a corporation. So the anonymity does help somewhat in that, yes, a board of directors is publicly available. I can sign on right now and find out who the directors are of any corporation. I cannot find out who the shareholders are. Only the central bank or Uncle Sam or whatever the Canadian equivalent would be. And that brings up one of the final questions. Do you save taxes by using a corporation? And I'm talking about outside of those circumstances where you're running it like a genuine business, deducting your expenses, etc. Don't worry 1 second. The door noise won't bother anybody. Gene has to check out here because I think they're waiting on you, and it's really no big deal. This mic doesn't even pick it up. Thanks for being in the audience today, Gene. He's headed out, folks. Will you save taxes by using a corporation? And here I'm mainly talking about either transfer taxes or capital gains taxes. The short answer is no, you shouldn't. The original reason, one of the biggest things that people got out of using corporations here was that tax benefit. The transfer tax benefit specifically, they would buy properties through a corporation, declare the corporation's stock price as what was being transferred, and pay no transfer taxes. That is not allowed here in Costa Rica whatsoever. So that benefit is gone. You will pay transfer taxes based on the value of the item being transferred if you are being honest and not just committing tax fraud in Costa Rica. So corporation or no, you will pay transfer taxes. And the same applies on the back end with those capital gains taxes. You're going to end up, when you sell a property here, if the rules for capital gains tax apply, then yes, absolutely, you're still going to own it. Whether you have a corporation or it's in your personal name, you're looking at paying that obligation, which, by the way, is 2.25% of the total if the property hasn't sold recently or before 2019, after rather, or it's 15% of the net capital gain. Anyhow, Myra, I also wanted to say thanks so much for tuning in. And Ahmed, it's great to see you as well. Really enjoy you guys tuning in. And cheerfully contributing along every time with Johnny Boy, John Miller. Ahmed wanted to ask, if you're looking to get residency, can you get it with a corporation? That's absolutely a great question. I should have addressed that. You can, if you are using the investor status residency program and putting $150,000 here, it does not matter whether you're buying a property through a corporation or whether you're buying it in your personal name. So you don't have to weigh that question. One other important thing to note, the one circumstance in which you will absolutely need a corporation and in fact a trust would be the concession properties right on the beach in Costa Rica. Those would be circumstances where an American or Canadian cannot own the property outright. So absolutely on the beachfront for those leased concession properties, you're going to see that corporate entities are going to be involved. Oh, Chaz, thanks so much. I do feel like a wealth of knowledge. However, I feel like quickly it must be replenished with something cold and refreshing. I'm already starting to stumble over myself a little bit. Folks, it's been wonderful having you today. Always stay tuned for new information here on YouTube. Thanks very much for joining me. Greetings from Costa Rica. My name is Matt Rosensteel, also known as Costa Rica Matt. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about everything related to moving to Costa Rica. Greetings from Costa Rica. Welcome to my new exclusive listing here in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Here in Costa Rica, Playa Junquial, Playa Tamarindo, Costa Rica, real estate, a pura vida lifestyle. What the heck? Just kidding. So whether you're interested in buying real estate in Costa Rica or you just want to learn more about this beautiful country, do be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks very much for watching.